Good evening. My name is Evan Gregory, and this is Bible Answers. We're going to be looking at part of John chapter 18 tonight, and so you can follow along on the screen here. As always, this is brought to you by the North Columbus Church of Christ, located in Columbus, Mississippi. Our website, scrolling below me, is northcolumbuschristians.com, and we also have a YouTube page, and you'll see our previous videos there. Our page is North Columbus Church of Christ. And so we've been working our way through the book of John. We've haven't done these, I think, in a few weeks, but we're starting back up here. We're going to look at John chapter 18. We left off obviously at the end of John chapter 17. Jesus praying. He's making several statements about his disciples, what he wants them to be, what he wants his followers to be. And so then we pick up. And so the context here is that it's getting closer and closer ultimately to Jesus' crucifixion. He knows that it's about that time. And so we get into chapter 18 and get right into it, beginning in verse 1. It says, when Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples over the brook Kidron, where there was a garden which he and his disciples entered. And Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. Then Judas, having received a detachment of troops and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that would come upon him, went forward and said to them, whom are you seeking? One thing I'll point out here is, so John has his gospels. We also have Matthew, Mark, and Luke as well. These others will speak on different things. So here, John mentions a garden. Other gospels will mention more about what happened there before this took place here in these verses that we read. And so just be aware of that, that you will see the same stories being told, but it's like you have four different people. If four different people will watching a baseball game from different parts of the stadiums, you may see different bits and pieces that they may mention, and this is kind of what we see going on here. And so just keep that in mind when we're reading this in the other gospels. You will see that they may add some more, and you may see additional information in John that you may not see elsewhere. And so Jesus is praying. He's going out. He's going out to the garden. I assume this is the Garden of Gethsemane. Of course, we know that from other gospels as well. But we see here Judas. We know Judas was going to betray him. We see Judas actually. Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him, and we see while they were partaking of their supper that Judas goes out from among them, and he's going to go and sell or take money from the priest in order to give Jesus up. And so Judas knew that he was there. They go out to this garden, and then we see what Judas brings with him. He doesn't just bring a couple of cops, so to speak. He says that he's also received a detachment of troops here. So this is it. It almost seems like they were thinking that Jesus and his disciples were going to put up a fight, or at least this was at the bare minimum this was a show of force here. So they have troops, they got officers from the priests and Pharisees. So again, this is not just a couple of cops pulling up and taking them away. It's quite it's a I guess you would say a small mob of people that have come to get Jesus. And so Judas is knows where he's going to be. He's taken these people to him, and Jesus knows what's happening here. He says, Jesus, knowing that all things that would come upon him, went forward and said to them, whom are you seeking? Seeking. So he knows what's fixing to happen. He knows all things that are come upon him. He's not shocked by this, but also he's not. Earlier in other gospels, we might see Jesus just not wanting to do this, uh, and you will think that by what he has said that he might be fearful of what's fixing to happen. But we see here that he's not. This is not who he is here. He does not. You think about somebody if the cops are coming to to get you, and you know that they're on your way, you might get scared and you might start running. But this is not what he did. He actually, when he sees them, we see them coming, and it says that he went forward and said to them, "Whom are you seeking?" Which is unusual. Which is, again, he knows what's fixing to happen, and it's even though he doesn't want these things to happen, he's not sulking back and fearful of what's fixing to happen as well. Verses 5 through 9 says, "They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus said to them, I am he, and Judas, who betrayed him, also stood with them. Now when he said to them, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. Then he asked them again, Whom are you seeking? And he said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. Therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way, that the saying might be fulfilled which he spoke, of those whom you gave me, I have lost none. So they asked, he asked whom you're seeking. They say Jesus of Nazareth. He tells them, I'm he. And notice what they do. He says they drew back and fell to the ground. We're not told why they do that, and it's quite interesting, and uh, maybe something's going on there that we don't quite see. Maybe some of the people are scared. We know that what Jesus has done. It's very possible that the people have seen what Jesus has done and what he's capable of, and when he's come forward, he goes forward to them. That perhaps they're wanting to get away from him. They don't want him to get too close. Maybe that's what it is. But I think what we do see is at the end of the day, some of Jesus' authority, and at least that the people, those people that arrest him, kind of they recognize it, but again, they don't fully accept it. But I think that they still do recognize it, or at the very least, this is unusual for someone who's condemned. They would not expect, or I would not expect, a criminal to act in this way, in which he's coming forward. He's saying he's being straight with them. He's telling them, "Hey, I'm who you're looking for." Anyways, again, we're not told, but I think there's a couple of good reasons why that they would have done that, and so they fall to the ground. He asks them again, and he tells them, again, that he is he. And so notice what he also does. He tells them, I'm the one you're looking for, but if you seek me, let these go their way. Don't arrest these disciples. Don't arrest these other people around me. You're seeking me. You're wanting me, and just take me. And notice what it also says, that the saying might be fulfilled which you spoke, of those whom you gave me, I have lost none. If you remember going back into chapter 17, he praised this. He says, of those whom you gave me, I've lost none. Now, there we would see he has lost none except the son of perdition, that is Judas. And so that he's lost none of them. So these other 11, he's lost none of them. And he wants them to get away from this. And so he's doing this. He does not want them to go to prison with him, or perhaps die with him. He wants them to get away from all those things that are happening to him. And we do see the care that he has for them, even though they may not be acting right. We will see later on in chapter 18, again, some more instances in which the disciples are faltering, to say the least, but he still cares for them, and he knows what is in store for them, and this is not the end of the story here. And so we move along to verses 10 through 14. It says, Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So Jesus said to Peter, Put your sword into the sheath. Shall I not drink the cup which my Father has given me? Then the detachment of troops and the captain and the officers of the Jews arrested Jesus and bound him. And they led him away to Annas first, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was high priest that year. Now it was Caiaphas who advised the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. So Jesus wants himself and himself only to be arrested. We see that Jesus is not putting up a fight in any way. But then we have Peter here. Now, Peter has said that he's willing to die for him, even though Jesus has said, "You're going to deny me." But he's gung ho about serving him. Said he's going to serve him to the death. And here we have that an instant here which he's ready to fight. He struck the high priest, cut off high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant Malchus here, and immediately Jesus tells him, "Don't do this." We don't. Again, in the other gospels, we can read some other instances of this, but we do see where Jesus calls Peter, tells him to put his sword away, and this is, he says, "Shall I not drink the cup which my Father has given me?" Again, he knows what's fixing to happen. This is part of the plan. This is no surprise to Jesus. As Jesus puts, it's his cup to drink. It's his path to go down. And so Jesus is arrested. He's bound. But he's not taken to the high priest here. He's not taken to Caiaphas. He's taken rather to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas. Now, Annas was a high priest, but it is interesting that they take him to Annas first. He's his father-in-law of Caiaphas, the father-in-law of the high priest. He would be older. Perhaps he's respected. Maybe still have some power and authority. And so they lead him away to him first. And of course, we see some additional information. Earlier, we were with Caiaphas saying that it was expedient for one should die for the people instead of, basically all. And he's not saying this to fulfill. He doesn't know Jesus is the Messiah, but what he said is quite true. That this was the plan, that it is indeed expedient that one should die, except everyone would die. And so he makes a statement that is very true, even though he said it under a wrong pretense here. Verses 5-18 says that Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. Now that disciple was known to the high priest and went with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door outside. Then the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to her who kept the door and brought Peter in. The servant girl who kept the door said to Peter, "You are not also one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and officers who had made a fire of coals stood there, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves, and Peter stood with them and warmed himself. So we see where Peter, it says here, another disciple goes and followed Jesus. I would assume that this was John here, but we don't know the name here. So it just says another disciple. And I don't believe, and I'm drawing a blank here at the moment, I don't believe we have this amount of this detail in other gospels, but I may be wrong in this. So again, we see where Peter and this other disciple is following him, and so they get near. And so we see this other disciple here. He's known to the high priest, which is very interesting. So they let the disciples away, and we see here that the high priest knows about this other disciple, but they're not bounding him. So it's very interesting. And at least I would say, at least they're keeping or going along with what Jesus has said at the very least. But but we also see where their main concern is Jesus here. But we have Peter standing at the door, and then we have this girl who comes up to Peter, asking him if he's one of Jesus's disciples. He denies it. He says, "I am not." Okay, and then we get to this other time in which the servants have made a fire, and so he's sitting there and warming himself. And we get to verses 19-22. Now we'll stop here, but it's kind of in the middle of a point here with Peter that Jesus has said that Peter's going to deny him 3 times. Peter vehemently denies that he's going to deny him. Okay, but we see here at this point, Peter has denied him once. That he's not one of his disciples here. He's not a follower of him. Okay, so this other disciple, okay, it says that he was known to the high priest. So there was no, I mean, they knew who he was. Apparently, they know he was a disciple of Jesus. There's, they know. There's no denying happening from that disciple. But Peter here, the one that said he was willing to go to the death, now he is starting to deny him. And so we have that kind of, uh, we see that happening with Peter. Okay, and then with verses 19 through 22, we kind of switch gears here. We go back to Jesus. And it says, the high priest then asked Jesus about his disciples and his doctrine. Jesus answered him, I spoke openly to the world. I always taught in synagogues and in the temple where the Jews always meet. In the secret I've said nothing. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me, what I said to them. Indeed, they know what I said. And when he had said these things, one of the officers who stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, do you answer the high priest like that? They were asking Jesus about what he taught, and we see what he's saying here. He's not he's not been hiding what he is saying. He's not been saying things in the dark. He's not been speaking secret things. He says, I've been open about everything that I'm doing here. I spoke openly to the world. I taught in synagogues and the temples. In secret, I've said nothing. And you should go ask the people that have listened to me what I've said. And so I think this is a good point that he's being open. He's being transparent. Again, he's not hiding anything. The disciples, I believe, the apostles rather, I believe Paul, I can't remember what one of his letters, he will make the phrase, basically to learn to not think beyond what is written. And basically what Paul was saying there is what we have written is there's nothing that we've held back from you. There's no secret knowledge that we haven't written about. Okay. What we have said, what we have written is the truth. And so again, there's no, you shouldn't be thinking that, there's more to the story here, that we have ulterior motives. The same thing's going on here with Jesus, that he's saying, you've listened. These other people have listened to what I've said. You know what I've been talking about. Okay, and he's been open. And we see the reaction of one of the officers. He says, and he strikes Jesus, and he asks, do you answer the high priest like that? Apparently, they thought the way that he was answering the question was pretty smart, and they didn't like that. But Jesus here is making the point that you know what I've been saying. And so we kind of see the ridiculousness of this arrest here. Now all of a sudden they decide to arrest him because he's been doing the same things for a good bit now. But now, now all of a sudden they're concerned about his doctrine. And well, you already know about all these things. They're concerned. You'll see them. They'll be concerned about getting him to perform a miracle. Well, they've watched him perform other miracles. They know that he's done other miracles. But yet they still ask for more and more. So kind of silly that they would bring these things up. And so that's where we're going to stop here tonight. We're going to keep on working, Lord willing, through John 18 and through the rest of the book of John. Eventually we'll finish it. And so if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave those here. Again, we do put these videos on YouTube. You can see them there at a later date. And I hope that this has been useful for everybody who watches. And we'll just keep on rolling through here. And I hope that you all have a good day and a good rest of the week. Thanks.